Hey everybody, welcome back to Harris Family Adventures. All right, time for our next adventure. We have already talked about the 2 times that we went into Boston to specifically look at stops on the Freedom Trail. So if you want to go back, that'll be linked down below in the description box. But we actually went to Boston 4 times. So today we're going to do kind of a combination video of the last 2 times we went to Boston. We went on a Thursday. Again, we're staying in Worcester, Massachusetts. So we took the train in and then we did a pretty short walk to the Tea Party Museum. It really wasn't that far. We were used to walking all the way to the Common from the South Station, and this was a lot shorter. So we went to the Tea Party Museum. Now, I've tried to do things kind of frugally. I'm not working. And the Tea Party Museum, I had looked and I was like, oh man, it's gonna be like $55 for the 2 of us. Like, that seems steep. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. You don't agree? It was my favorite museum. We have studied a little bit as part of the US history course that Reese is doing, the Tea Party, but didn't know much about it. So we got there a little before 10. Now I said it opened at 10, but also the tour started at 10. So I think it actually might open a little bit before because
we got there at like 9:45.
Yeah, probably.
We just waited in a room.
Yeah, so we walked right up, we bought our 2 tickets, and she said, go ahead over there, and then there was a lady waiting for us, and she put us into a room, and it was meant to be like an old meeting house. So there were pews, there was a historical reenactor who served, sorry guys if you hear Justin, he's next door working, kind of loud. So she was also our tour guide. So she stayed with us for the whole tour. And as we were sitting there and people were filing in, she was handing out character cards. So she said, you know, is anybody here willing to like say a couple of lines? And so then there were just 2 people that needed to do that. She's like, is anybody here a troublemaker? And so nobody raised their hand. So she just handed that card to one of the moms that was part of the group. And then she handed out the rest of the cards. And as she handed them out, I mean, she stayed in character the whole time. But you know, she was like, where are you from? And we said Nebraska, and she was like, Nebraska? Because of course, in this world, it's 1773. So, you know, that type of thing. So that was really fun. And then Samuel Adams came in, and he did a great job. He talked really fast.
Very loud.
Very loud. So he was like energetic. It was, you know, December 6th, 1773, and he was getting us all, oh, and we had learned like huzzah and like hitting the pews, and then is it fie or fee? Like when he would talk about King George. So we had already learned that from our tour guide. So we were supposed to interact. So when he was saying, you know, like in the Texas, we'd go that kind of thing. So Reese and I are really interactive kind of people, but it was interesting. I got maybe a third of what he said. It was kind of hard to understand, but that was fine. And then after that, we were able to go down because we had decided, you know, we were all members of the Tea Party, so we had decided to throw the tea overboard. So they took us down to obviously a recreation of one of the 3 ships that was holding the tea in the harbor, and our tour guide talked with us about it a little bit. There was another tour guide that's specifically for that boat, so she did most of the talking as well once we got on board. Then we thought only 4 people were going to be able to throw over the tea, so they were like crates of tea, and so they threw them overboard. We were able to go down and see like kind of where the tea was kept and hear more about
real stairs.
Yes, on real stairs. So that's how you know, like, okay, this isn't a real ship because they didn't have stairs like this. But, you know, just talking about, it was so interesting, just some of the things that we hadn't learned. Like, it was low tide, so the harbor only had 2 feet of water at the time. So as they're throwing tea over, it's just like piling up, so they had to get in the water and kind of smash it down. And things like that were really interesting. And then we did have time when she had finished talking, because she led us downstairs and talked and walked around, and there was like a guy sleeping in one of the bunks, and it was like a mannequin, but he was real creepy. It was real creepy. And then there was like the captain of the ship was like writing, and he looked real enough that I was like, is this gonna be a real guy that's gonna like start moving? But he didn't. And then we probably had 5 or 10 more minutes on our own to explore the ship. It's not a huge ship compared to the Constitution, which we're going to talk about in a bit. It's not that big, but you're able to throw tea over then. So you threw tea over a couple of times, so that was fun. And able to take photos and videos both in the State House room and at that part and the next part. So the next part was we went down to the dock where they have a list of all the people that participated, and she showed us like the map of old Boston, how it was at the time, and how it was an island when it was high tide because there was just a small land bridge, and how it looks so much different than today's Boston. And then we were able to take photos and videos there, and then we entered a room that we couldn't, and it's a 3D theater. It was so cool. It was so cool. So you just stood, though it was 5 minutes maybe. Yeah, it wasn't very long. So if you're worried about standing, it wasn't super long, and it looked like women, but it was like a hologram of women talking about, and one's husband had probably been part of, it was all hush hush, so probably part of it. The other one was still on the side of King George, so them kind of arguing. And that's always what I find most interesting, isn't like the main players, but like what were the women's roles, like what was the family life like, and that type of thing. So we saw that, couldn't take pictures or photos. Then we went into a room where it was like we were part of the Battle of Lexington. So the screen, I did this because the screen was kind of curved, not all the way around us, but it was kind of curved. There was also, you also stood there, and she had warned us we're going to see a battle scene, so if you feel like this might be a little too difficult, she would be by the door. I think the youngest kids that were part of our tour were probably your age. I mean, I would say everybody was like 10 or older. Yeah. Well, there was that one boy, maybe he was like 8. Yeah. We didn't have any little ones on our tour. I do think if you had a little one, that would be a little bit tricky, because as they start shooting, well, first of all, it's very loud, and then you would feel they have puffs of air like come by you, so it's like a bullet is whizzing by you. So that, then we went to another room, and again, this is all a guided tour, so you don't get to decide how long you spend in any one room. But then we went to the last room, and they had the only known crate from the Boston Tea Party that's still in existence. So they had the crate, and it's kind of up and it's lit and it's turning, and then there's a little video about the crate, and then there were these portraits on the wall, and so there was a King George portrait and a John Adams portrait, and then they start arguing. So like the portraits came to life, and I mean it wasn't live, it was like a video, but it was really cool, and they were kind of arguing back and forth about everything. So that was where our tour ended. After that, you could go to the Abigail Adams tea room, and they had like cookies and sandwiches and tea. We didn't spend too long in there because they also had a gift shop. If you know us, we're here for a gift shop. We love a good gift shop. So we went to the gift shop, and Reese had so many. He found a 20 earlier at Salem. So he had some money to spend. So you purchased what?
Well, chip in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I got something else.
You did get something else, but now I don't remember what it is. Oh, you got a snow globe, yeah? No, that was another place.
I don't remember what I got.
They're treasures. And then I went ahead and purchased, they had the t-shirt shirt combo deal that said Boston. So I got that for my father-in-law for Christmas. I was like, hey, let's do some Christmas shopping. And then also we bought a Christmas ornament. So that's something that we do when we travel somewhere, is we get a Christmas ornament, because then every year as we put up our tree, it's like, oh yeah, remember we got this in Boston. So and the Christmas ornament was $4. It was a really reasonably priced gift shop, and it was big.
It was a good Christmas ornament.
It was a good Christmas ornament. It was a good gift shop. So I would recommend that. And then they had obviously they had like lots of tea and tea sets and that kind of thing. So
blueberry tea, peach tea, apple tea,
all the
whatever
teas.
Tea you want.
All the teas. So that was one of our times in Boston. After that, so the whole tour probably takes about an hour. It's not super long, and again, for the price, but I thought it was so interesting. And then we just went ahead and walked around. We walked to the Common. We stopped in Primark. I've never been in a Primark. I had seen some other YouTubers that have been to Primark. Oh my gosh. It would be good and bad to have a Primark closer to us. Such good deals. We went into the Macy's and looked around for a bit there. We walked to the Common. We saw somebody shooting a commercial, we think.
Commercial, TV show.
Something. And from Nebraska, that doesn't ever happen around us. So we kind of watched that for a while. We walked along the harbor for a bit. We went to Cheers. Reese has never seen Cheers. We just went in the gift shop and kind of looked around. And then we went and caught our train home. Then our final week here in Massachusetts, we went back into town one more time because if you watched our Freedom Trail video, you know that when Reese and I did the Freedom Trail the first time, stop 15 out of 16 is the USS Constitution. And we looked around the ship and then went to the museum, but didn't have enough time in the museum. So we went back specifically for that. So we took the train in, walked over to the USS Constitution, and yes, you can take public transport there, but I was like, let's just walk, let's just take it in. And we kind of followed the Freedom Trail, which wasn't the straightest shot getting there, but it's an easy way to do it because you just follow the bricks on the road. And we did know that the ship was closed. We kind of just had to decide, but then the weather was getting a little bit cooler, and we just had to decide, like, do we pick a day when it might be weather unknown and we could go aboard the ship again, or the museum was open every day and we could go to the museum. And that was what Reese was most interested in. So we went back to the museum, and if you're wondering the cost, they have a suggested donation, and they just have a box that you put in kind of whatever your heart is feeling you want to give for entrance into the museum, and you go. So we went back in and we kind of just redid all the exhibits. I don't think there was anything new that we
watched
did.
that kind of new movie.
Oh yeah, they had a movie about the whole history of the ship, which was really interesting. Like, it's from 1794. Like, I thought, oh, a replication of a ship. No, it's been in use. Like, children have raised pennies to try and save it over the years and that type of thing. So we watched that video. I think it was like 7 minutes. It wasn't very long, but it was a good video. They have another video upstairs that's kind of like, you hear both sides of people talking about a battle that they were in. But yeah, we just took our time and we read more about it. At one point, Reese was doing one of the exhibits where you like load a cannon and then you can shoot it and it tells you if you hit the ship. And they have a shipbuilder on site who kind of has an office off to the side. You can kind of peek in and see him working, and it wasn't very crowded. So I think he was maybe just, I think that's his passion. I think his passion is the USS Constitution, and he saw a kid, and so he wanted to give us a whole lesson on it. And it was interesting. It just, the introverted people that we are, when somebody's talking to us one-on-one about something, it's always like, oh, okay, just stop talking. But it was interesting. It was a good time. So
I'm still alive.
Still alive, made it. So yeah, we finished at the museum and then we walked back and we were kind of ready to go home. That was our shortest day in Boston, was that day, but we still had a good time. I mean, you can just sit in South Station and watch people all day too.
Watch pigeons.
Watch pigeons, eat pretzels. It's a good time. If you have any questions about our visits to Boston, again, we went 4 times, 2 of them specifically for the Freedom Trail. We did eat lunch there that second day, under the Constitution and the Constitution Museum, and we have also visited the Boston Tea Party Museum. So if you have any questions about any of those things, let us know down below and we will do our best to answer them. Otherwise, go ahead and click subscribe if you want to see other adventures that we've had, including Highway 1A and Plymouth and a mall and some Ivy League universities. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Can't forget the day we met. Your eyes so blue, me pressing through.